Lobster Magnet. Lobster's a 10, I told you grab it.
Welcome to another Game of Thrones video review from me, good old Lobster Magnet. We are here today to discuss Episode 3 of Season 7, The Queen's Justice. Now, this was, in many ways a highly anticipated episode. It's sort of like the big meeting of Fire and Ice, the Song of Fire and Ice that has long since been prophesized, that we've been waiting since the beginning of the series to see Jon Snow and Daenerys meet up. And basically we're kind of seeing like a very, very expensive fanfiction version of it, given how off-book we are, and who knows if, George R.R. Martin was planning this in his original novel. Although, the interesting thing about sort of Game of Thrones is that, George R.R. GRRM, takes immense, perverse pleasure in, sort of subverting fantasy tropes. But the funny thing is that, if you break down Game of Thrones, take out all the violence, all the boobs, all the sex, all of the political machinations and the stuff that people love, it's still, a very trite, kind of cliched fantasy story. There are these fantasy ice zombies that are going to, invade everything and start fucking shit up, and everyone has to unite against this unforeseen foe. And, that's what we're ultimately going to get. We're going to get our big final with the Night's King, considering how there are no more villains left. And George R.R. Martin sort of I feel like he knows that's the sort of inevitable endgame, but he kind of hates it. I feel like he sort of got that license to, get the book out in the first place, and then got completely bored of, the traditional fantasy tropes that he had going, and decided to, do 100 different variations. And so it's become this, huge bush that's, unwieldy and kind of a mess, and this horrible Marinese knot that he, as he so, famously called it, that feels like it's never going to end, and he has no idea how to, properly finish it to a way that he likes, because he, hates the idea of giving us the conventional story, while the TV show is, for all intents and purposes, giving us the conventional fantasy narrative endgame of Game of Thrones. And in some ways that works out to a great deal, because, we're getting a lot of fan service, I have my issue with the Arya murdering the Freys. It just feels a little too fanfiction-y. It's I hate the fact that Arya, basically has her, superpowers with no consequences. The whole point of the fucking Faceless Men was that, she was have to, if she wanted this incredible power to assume any identity, she would have to give up a part of herself. She would have to give up, her vendettas and her grudges and her identity as Arya Stark. But the fact that she could just, wander out and have the ability to switch faces and masks, so easily, it's just feels like a betrayal of the original source material. But at the same time, this is we've been investing in this for so many years, we want this. And the same thing with Jon Snow meeting Daenerys. We know they're probably eventually gonna, learn about Jon Snow's heritage. Maybe there'll be a ship. But at the very least, they're going to team up forces in the Night's King. It's just a matter of when. So a lot of this episode is a lot of them, reflecting on each other's experiences. And it's oh my god, we're both such good leaders that we don't want to deal with the bullshit of the other one. Daenerys is who the fuck is this hairy Northman to tell me, the fucking breaker of chains, mother of dragons, queen bitch of the universe, and not kneel the fucking knee? Fuck him. And Jon Snow's oh, fuck you and your pomp and pageantry. I fucking, went beyond the wall, killed the woman I loved, died for my cause and came back, became king of the north and fought the Night King and, an impossible snowy eclipse. Fuck you, just give me the fucking dragon so I can save us all. So that's the sort of, partial standoff, although eventually they sort of, work on it, even though it's a very passive-aggressive thing where Daenerys kind of has Jon Snow as a hostage. And although, honestly, though, I'm kind of wondering, when Jon Snow goes up with his dragon glasses, Euron with his incredible teleporting fucking fleet that can be wherever it wants to be at any fucking moment, is he just gonna show up and, attack Jon Snow? I was half expecting that to happen, but, it looks like, Euron can be, on Dorne, and then he can go up to Casterly Rock, and wherever the show needs it to be. And again, like, you know, it's better to have this than, like, you know, and we have no time for filler, we have no time for traveling bullshit, but considering it was such an important part in terms of the geography, but, like, you know, now that, like, it's the end game, like, you know, the two showrunners are like, you know what, fuck it, everyone's playing Skyrim, we're just gonna use fast travel, everyone's gonna teleport around, because we want to tell our story, we want to get this shit done. Because we only have X amount of episodes, and, you know, there's not much story to go. And in many ways, that's what I think kind of annoys me, is that I really, really do not like Cersei as, like, you know, the second-to-last boss villain of the series. Like, she's fun for being, you know, she's a great character, but she does not deserve the status she has now, because she's really not good at the Game of Thrones. She is terrible, and I kind of hate the fact that, like, you know, just for the sake of, like, drawing out the season, you know, she's being rewarded for all of her fucking terrible, you know, decisions. And that, like, you know, the Tyrells, who were supposed to be, like, one of the most powerful, you know, fucking families in the Seven Kingdoms, just, you know, Jaime marches up and then all of them die off screen. Although Olenna does get a great scene where she, you know, in her death, and she goes down like a boss. And of course, you know, there's the Ilaria, you know, torture scene, which wasn't, I honestly thought it was kind of tame. I thought Cersei would be a little bit more creative. I guess it's like a more brutal, you know, poetic death, seeing it's the same thing that happened to Myrcella, who probably didn't deserve to die, considering she was just a nice, innocent bystander. And like, a lot of people were probably like, you know, oh yeah, fuck you, Ilaria Sand. And Ilaria Sand is not a super likable character. The Sand Snakes are not likable characters in the show. Like, you could say that they're ruined. You know, Walter Street, you know, you commented a lot on those, you know, last video. I appreciate that. It validates it, you know, even though it only got like 50 views, to keep on doing this. So I promised I will do the Why I Hate Dorne video. So, and I have a little time tomorrow, so I'll see if I can pump out a short thing, you know, in regards to that. Because, you know, everything on Dorne is cool on paper, but it doesn't really help serve any of the larger narratives. It just makes things more complicated. So in many ways, it's kind of nice to see it all tidied up. But, you know, I don't like that Euron Greyjoy, who was, like, had the potential to be an interesting villain in the book, but was never really paid off. And, you know, here he's just sort of like, I'm the pirate guy, I can do whatever I want. Jaime, why don't you tell me? And it's also funny that, like, Cersei just doesn't give a shit about her incest. She, like, doesn't even bother to hide it. And I assume that we're eventually going to see Cersei get her ultimate comeuppance. Although, I just don't like her. She's not good. Because, like, Roose Bolton isn't as good as he is in the books. But, like, you know, even my good old buddy Zavil, who you've seen, you know, if you're following this channel regularly, he loves Roose Bolton. And I appreciate why he loves Roose Bolton as well as anyone. Because the brilliance about Roose Bolton as sort of like a character is that he's very good at what he does. He's an awful, horrible, terrible person, but he, like, understands that, like, being reckless and ruling doesn't help. Being a monster doesn't help. You know, if you're going to be a monster, at least be discreet about it. Don't piss off the people, and you should always be afraid of them. Roose Bolton is very good at being, you know, a horrible, tyrannical dictator. And, you know, something that, like, you know, he is kind of like an eviler version of Tywin Lannister. Like, you know, in Game of Thrones fantasy fiction, I would love to see, like, you know, Roose Bolton versus Tywin Lannister to see who would come out on top. Because, and, you know, Tywin Lannister was also a great, lovable bad guy because, you know, he had a ruthless pragmatism that you could respect. He was very, very good at ruling. He was very good at military tactics. Like, you know, it's good to have villains that are good at what they do. And that's why I don't like Cersei. That she's just like, you know, I told you in the last review, she's like me, you know, playing Risk and just like randomly attacking people to my own detriment. And I hate the idea that she's being rewarded just to extend the story. Especially when Daenerys has her fucking 3 dragons and can just like fly in there, give us a brouhaha, you know, 10-minute action sequence, which you know, they have the money for it. They have the motherfucking money. Why aren't we getting some dragon carnage? Oh, because I don't want to burn the people, blah, 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 blah. Oh, well, you took the high road and now, you know, Cersei and her dumb empire, you know, are ruling over all, and she doesn't deserve it. I'm sure, like, by the end of the season, Cersei will be dead, so we can actually move on to the Night King. You know, I want some North action. But, you know, tepid meeting between Daenerys and Jon Snow was interesting, but, you know, a little bit frustrating for me, because, you know, I'm kind of like, some people might think that, like, the Night King, like, is just going to be one decisive battle, but for me, what I would like to see when they finally, like, address the big, elephant in the room, the White Walker in the room, is, like, I want to see a protracted conflict, that basically, it's a campaign over the last 6 episodes of the series. Like, the Night King somehow gets through the wall, he breaks it down, and they're just fighting this losing battle as he gains more and more ground, but they're, kind of holding their ground, but not really. That would be interesting to me, just so you see a sort of, like, prolonged, campaign and series of battles in terms of, battling the Night King. The only problem is that the Night King, obviously isn't a very charismatic character. He just, walks in and kills stuff and, kind of looks at people. So, you kind of, like, lose a lot of what made Game of Thrones great. But, it also presents an opportunity for, like, heroic sacrifices. Oh, you still got, like, a lot of characters who are off to the side doing stuff. So, you could have them make heroic sacrifices and, push them to their extremes. That's what he could be used as a good tool for. And I'm sure he will be once we get into the end game. So, that's what I want to see, and everything else that's, like, sort of dallying around it, frustrates me to a certain degree. Even if we get, like, scenes like, ooh, Bran's back, and, I don't know why he's, like, completely lost to his humanity. Wasn't he, like, a novice green seer, three-eyed raven, and now he's, like, completely in mystical Jedi mode, which was kind of fun and creepy to a degree, but, you're kind of like, because the actor has aged so much, between seasons, like, there was part of me that was like, did they recast Bran? They've recast a lot of children in Game of Thrones. I mean, we've had 3 mountains. I still like the first one the best. So maybe that they did the same thing with Bran and just didn't talk about it, but I think he's the same actor. But now he's, like, completely changed from his time of fleeing with poor Mira Reed. But hey, Arya Stark will join it, and then, like, everyone will have, join together and form a Captain Planet Stark Children superpowers. Because, yeah, all the Stark Children now have superpowers in a limited way. Sansa has her political influence, and I guess Littlefinger to a smaller degree. Arya's superpower is, of course, the face changing. Jon Snow is being brought back to life in his Targaryen blood. And the superpower that Bran has is, I guess, is all-seeing throughout history and whatnot. I hope he gets that. I'm sure he'll get out the information about Jon Snow's lineage. I feel like that can't be, held for too much longer. There's no purpose of bringing him back, just to have him not, reveal that little tidbit, given that he's the only living person who's capable of doing that. But, it was an okay episode. I just want Euron to be taken out of. He's not, like, a great bad guy. Cersei's not a great bad guy. She's a vindictive, spiteful woman, and it was great to see Olenna, like, get hers, although I kind of wanted Olenna to get some revenge. I was rooting for her after her entire family was incinerated by, fucking Cersei's power plays, blowing up the Sept of Baelor. And of course, yeah, it seems like Cersei's doing a good job of, like, sweet-talking everyone, like, the Iron Bank of Braavos seems to think that, oh, she's going to be the one to pay back the debts, and maybe with the Tyrell's fortune. But, all of her things are only, like, short-term solutions to long-term problems, and they always blow up in her face. That was, like, the big thing of, like, A Feast for Crows, is that, like, Cersei thinks she's so smart, but then she makes 10 times worse problems with her. And that was kind of like, what happened with her in Season 5 and 6, with the Sparrow, the High Sparrow, where she basically, six Bernie Sanders who became a power player. So, yeah, seeing Jon and Daenerys, meet is, there's a certain, like, expectation that, like, that's what we want to happen. But, well, there's also the sort of unspokenness that Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke are not great actors. They're both, like, just go look and see that they have not had any success in anything outside of Game of Thrones. And, which is kind of sad because, like, I can't think of anyone in Game of Thrones except for, like, Peter Dinklage, who's been able to, like, turn their Thrones success into, like, other films, but no one really has. And it's kind of sad because, like, Lena Headey is, an actress who's like, if you look up her resume, she's mostly in like a lot of B movies, a lot of genre stuff, and she gets a lot of good, juicy material for Cersei, and she just like digs into it and does a great job. But, outside of the Thronesverse, she doesn't get to do anything interesting. And that's, some of the people who, like, had Game of Thrones fame are, like, using it for all it's worth. The guy who plays Hodor is, like, going around being a DJ, and he's starring in commercials, and he'll be in convention halls signing autographs forever, yelling, "Hold the door." And, they're just sort of, like, embracing that, like, sort of minor celebrity and, making a living off of it. And you know what? If I had that, I would feel no shame about that either. Because, there are far worse ways to make a living in this world than, being, like, sort of a B player on a beloved TV series and, not being able to translate that to A-level success, but, enjoying a comfortable life from it. So, and then there's the guy who's like Hot Pie who opened his the bread, a bakery, and who he's gonna, like, make, God, I forgot the name of it, but it's like, nothing John Doe, and he sells like direwolf pastries, so he's gonna get to live out the rest of his life in a very successful gimmicky bakery that, like, people are always going to be, attending, and you know what, that's not a terrible way to, do things. So if I had to rate this episode, I'd give it like a, maybe an 8, or 7.5, I don't know, I feel like it should have been more impactful, and I just want Cersei to get her comeuppance and her final death blow. I don't think she deserves her status. And, let's, like, move on to the real stuff. And, the Unsullied scene, battle scene was great to see, but it's frustrating that, like, they get completely played, and Euron's magic teleporting fleet, strands them in Castle Rock. Of course, denying Daenerys her, like, major fighting force. Well, the one thing I kind of wonder is, like, how many Unsullied does she have left? Because obviously she's not making any more, given the fact that, basically, she started out with, like, 8,000 of them, right? And, she's not going to make any new Unsullied, because, the practice of making Unsullied is super barbaric and awful and terrible. So, these are, like, assumingly the last Unsullied that will ever exist in the Game of Thrones Westeros universe. So, she's lost quite a few from, like, guys slitting their throats from the Sons of the Harpy. She's lost a bunch in battles. So, how many does she have left? I'm curious. I would, like, it's like one of those pedantic details. I'd be very curious to know how strong her Unsullied forces is. If it's like, there are only 6,000 left because, they're losing by the minute. And I want to know how strong they are. It's be interesting detail. So I'll give the episode an 8. Thrones stuff is always good. Even bad Thrones is always entertaining and heads and tails above, like, most of the other stuff you see in genre television. But there is a frustration on me. Like, I don't like Cersei, and not in, like, the good ways I like for a villain. Unlikable villain, but I just think she's a dumb character who deserves to be, punished for her dumbness. So hopefully we'll see that in the next few episodes, and then we can get to the real business of the Night's King, so we can, see the epic conflict that we all came here for. Who knows, maybe in the next couple episodes we'll get a hard home, or we'll get a dragon attack, because, you got full-grown dragons, let's see that shit. You only have, like, 7 episodes in the season. I want to see that budget pumped into some dragon action. You've got the money. You've seen scale in Game of Thrones before, and you've got more money. So let's have less of Daenerys sitting around in her throne room doing nothing, and, like, get some dragon action. Yeah. Alright, so thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed speaking my thoughts on the show I love watching, and hope you like, comment, subscribe, do all that good self-promotion shit, and I will see you around. And this time, I'm not going to shell anything. I just want to get this video out, so no shelling. This is completely shell-free. So I hope I see you in the next video, and keep following the channel. And remember, lobsters and tennis, but don't you grab it.
Lobsters made of iron, lobsters made of ice.